All right, we'll get started. Hello all, good morning. Welcome to our program webinar today, and that we are bringing exclusively to our Citrix Ready partners. I am Sagnik Datta, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. I work for the Citrix Ready as a technical marketing specialist and manage the desktop ecosystem. I'm also responsible for the vertical program initiative that we are launching today for our partners, including the planning and the execution. So I look forward to working with many of you. And along with me, I have Yuting Huang. She's the Director of Integrated Product Marketing and our expert in financial services industry. I have Nitin Sharma. He is the Solutions Marketing Manager and our expert in healthcare IT. And I have Corinne, who is the Education Vertical Solutions Marketing Director. Agenda, so we have a lot of ground to cover today, but if I have to leave three things with you today is A, industry knowledge in the targeted verticals, B, how Citrix plays in each of these industries, and C, and how you as a partner can leverage some of the benefits that we are providing and jump on the bandwagon and build solutions of marketing opportunities that continues to be part of our shared success. Citrix Ready, so very quickly now, this is a platform that showcases products. We are all of us are familiar with this. It's a niche. Partners verify their products using our many toolkits, and once verified, we showcase your product in our marketplace with the set compatibility version. So why talk about solutions, right? So I will draw a quick analogy here, and that's my favorite car. I'm sure everybody has seen a Tesla. And Tesla is certainly one of the pioneers in disrupting the traditional and automotive design and distribution model. So as a consumer, let's say you want to buy electric car and you choose Tesla, a product that solves this need. But then you handle your other needs separately, such as, let's say, increased electricity bills and higher dependency on renewable energy. So alternate to that, you buy a solution. You buy a Tesla along with a Tesla-powered home, installing solar roofs that replaces your old roof tiles with solar tiles, and that converts solar energy into electricity for your home. A well-integrated solution with your Tesla home batteries as well. Integrated future, right? And that's the key here. Although the two solutions, the two products, the Tesla and the Tesla-powered home, are individual separate products, it has been presented as a beautiful, affordable, and seamlessly integrated products that becomes a solution. So while we talk about solutions, why verticals in the first place? So I wanted to preface the conversation as to why verticals. For one, customer expect vertical expertise. We get to hear that from our sales, and verticals being the front and center in reaching new markets and penetrating the existing. Citrix is already positioned to meet the more mobility and the security needs of our customers, and we have a strong leadership focus in verticals in our organization, and you'll be hearing from some of those speakers today. Also, the conversations are shifting to focus now, as I touched upon in the previous slide, and this leads to more strategic engagement. And as we see competition arise, there is an increased need to be differentiated. Focusing on vertical addresses that, and finally, vertical programs are proven to perform. So without further ado, this is the introductory slide that calls out our main objectives of this program, and that is to build and promote a library of white papers. We want your story to be out there that portrays the best integrated joint solutions in context to an industry. So I'll be passing on the presentation on each of the vertical owners here to walk you through their industry of expertise, the marketing opportunities, the trends, the use cases, and the customer personas who are involved in decision making in general. And while they do that, I would encourage you as a partner to place the use cases that we talk about in context to your products as applications, as applicable. So a couple of housekeeping items for Q&A. Please use the question panel on your right. We will attempt to respond them on chat and or at the end of the presentation. So I'll quickly now hand over the controls to Yuting Huang, who is the Director of the Integrated Product Marketing and our expert in financial services industry. Yuting, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Show my screen. Okay. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, good evening. My name is Yuting Huang. I'm the Director of Solutions Marketing for Citrix for Financial Services. So today, we don't have a lot of time, but I'll just touch on the high points on selling into financial services, the market opportunities, and also the use cases. So first, let's put some definition around financial services industry. At Citrix, when we talk about financial services, we focus on the following sub-verticals. We talk about banking, includes your retail banks, commercial banks, community banks, credit unions. We talk about investment and management, which includes your advisory services, financial planning, wealth management, insurance, such as life insurance, property and casualty. But we don't talk about U.S. health insurance in this category. And then financing credit, which includes mortgage lending and consumer lines of credit. But we also know that all these financial services, the institutions tend to have multiple lines of business. So a bank could also offer life insurance as well as credit. Just as an aside, I want to talk about some retail locations like Walmart that are starting to offer banking services, and many retailers also offer lines of credit. But for today's discussion, we will focus on the top 4 sub-verticals. So given that within those sub-verticals that we just talked about, the top 4, we did some analysis, and here's a summary of the available markets for XenApp and XenDesktop for all 3 geos. And this is based on marrying the data from industry zip codes and Citrix sales data so that it shows the greenfield opportunity for XenApp and XenDesktop. So as you can see, it's still quite a big market opportunity out there. And when we dive into the sub-verticals, we actually see that there is a huge opportunity in investment and management across both the mid and enterprise markets for all geos. And then what about Netscaler Gateway? So we don't have this in broken out into financial services, but it's a great attached sale for FSI, and we don't have the breakdown by geos and subverticals, but we estimate the total market for this solution to be between $500 to $700 million in USD, and would grow to nearly $1 billion by 2017, and that includes all verticals. I have another slide on ADC market size. This one did get broken down into regions, but what you need to look at is the third column to the right, the CAGR, 2015 to 2019 CAGR, and most of them are in the positive. So Netscaler ADC market size is increasing in general. And I have one for SD-WAN. It's an important technology for remote and branch offices. And again, I don't have this broken down into verticals or sub-regions, but overall, by 2020, the market will exceed $6 billion with a growth of 90%. So given all that, you know, the markets that we're targeting and the opportunities, let's talk a little bit about trends in the financial services and how Citrix fit into the big picture. The big trend in financial services is leveraging digital business for better business model, better employee productivity, and better customer experience. So this definition here is Gartner's definition of digital business. It is the creation of new business designs by blurring the digital and physical worlds due to the convergence of people, business, and things. And our job is to help them transform. How do you leverage this set business digital business to reach the goals that they could not reach earlier, faster, or cheaper and otherwise. So we enable the digital transformation of the financial services industry so they can continue to thrive in an ultra-competitive world. So just to look at some high-level numbers, your workforce is changing. Workforce in financial services is changing. We know about technologies like devices and cloud that contribute to digital transformation, but the cultural trends are also driving digital transformation. So in this survey by CEB Global, the majority of workers today are considered mobile. You add the 63% to the 30%, that's over 90% of the workforce work remotely and away from the desk, even when they're in the office. And the financial services consumers are changing as well. There is undeniable increase in customer preference for completing insurance transactions through digital channels, up from 28% in 2010 to 41% in 2015. And same with banking. They're increasingly preferring digital methods that allow for quicker ways to check their balances or pay bills. There is a slight increase in online from 2013 to 2015, but a whopping 10% increase for mobile and almost 20% decrease for ATMs. So when we talk about digital transformation, what do we mean? So here are some examples. Empowering the service employees with digital technology so that they can access the workspace from any device, anywhere, also securely for better customer experience by reaching customers wherever they are, providing responsive service wherever the employee is, and enhancing your on-site service with personalization. Second, make digital channels available, high-performing, and secure so that customers can access their own data for self-service anytime from any device. And finally, leverage digital platforms to improve internal workflow as well as employee satisfaction. So I want to dive a little bit into use cases. This is a summary slide, but in this deck, I have some detailed slides in the back that when you download, you can take a look in more detail. But I just want to go through the 7 use cases that we target. So first one is optimizing application development, management, and delivery. So this is all about the financial institutions needing multiple business and custom applications to ensure productivity and customer satisfaction. The business runs on a whole bunch of apps, ranging from web to mobile apps to core legacy ERPs and CRMs. And all these apps need to be developed and managed by in-house or offshore developers and delivered securely to the end users, such as the call center reps or branch office workers, financial agents, and employees from other lines of business on a variety of endpoints. So application development and maintenance need to be securely delivered to the developers, and whether the apps are legacy or brittle or new and shiny like mobile. So IT needs to provide secure access to the apps regardless of location, whether it's by developers or by end users, and also doing that without increasing cost or compromising user experience. The second one is the optimized branch office mobility and performance. Most financial institutions have multiple remote and branch offices and call centers, and many branches also want to replace long customer lines with either better on-floor customer service or kiosks for customer self-service, or moving a lot of the self-service to online apps. So in all these cases, the availability, the security, and performance of these business-critical apps at the branch office have a direct impact on customer service, as well as the reputation of the financial services organization's brand. So they need a way to consolidate data centers and drastically optimize internet and WAN traffic for a fraction of the cost, so that they can improve branch and remote user experience with the availability, security, and performance. Performance of the apps and data. Okay, the next one, third one, is to enable business agility for M&A, market changes, and seasonal peaks. So to stay competitive, these companies need to adapt to the market swings, including acquisitions, divestitures, outsourcing, new businesses, or expanding to emerging markets. And the IT department needs to cost-effectively accommodate such changes that bring on growing and changing workforce. And these new workspaces need to be provisioned very quickly, in a day or less, so that workforce can get productive immediately. And they also need to be deprovisioned just as quickly for those who leave or finish the temporary contract. So IT needs to be able to onboard new or temporary workforce very quickly, easily, and securely without increasing the cost. The fourth one is to support a mobile workforce and workplace redesign. Financial institutions, just like other verticals, are looking to create flexible work environments to improve productivity, satisfaction, and morale, and also to maximize the use of existing real estate or reduce committed real estate of branch offices. In many cases, PCs are replaced with thin clients or laptops and mobile devices, and physical office space is being redesigned to encourage cross-functional collaboration. So IT needs to be able to support worker mobility, reduce your office space overhead, and provide secure device-agnostic workspaces to these workers. Fifth one is to ensure business continuity and zero downtime. For financial services organization to be successful, the table stakes is it must provide 24/7 availability to business-critical apps during either planned or unplanned disruptions. So whatever the interruption is, it is essential for the workers to continue to maintain functions such as fulfilling client orders, completely trade transactions, and providing clients with access to their cash and securities. So it's very important that zero downtime, zero downtime is very, very important. It's critical. So IT needs to deliver secure mobile workspaces and ensure IT controls and regulatory compliance despite business event continuity event without incurring separate infrastructure costs. The sixth is meeting business security and compliance requirements. And we talked about, using all sorts of different apps and data, and whether they're, mobile or web or legacy or custom. But without security controls, customer experience and sensitive data can be compromised. And also financial services have a complex slew of compliance mandates they need to meet. So diverse customer channels also make it even harder to secure all of these apps and data. So IT needs to secure mobile endpoints while providing the smooth user experience workers demand, and maintain control over business-sensitive data and meet compliance mandates. And all of that without compromising the user experience or IT operations efficiency. And the final one is about the trader's workstation. Today's trader workstation, workforce demands the best workstation without compromising on mobility, performance, and security. They want to be able to conduct their business wherever they are on the device of choice and not hindered by system latency. They also want a workstation that's ergonomic, that doesn't have lots of desktops and wires powering the 6 or 12 monitors. So IT has to support the demands in a cost-efficient way to ensure agility in today's landscape. So they need to optimize the performance and security of the trader's workstation to improve mobility and productivity, and all of that, again, without increasing IT operation costs and management. So who buys and who influences The buyers are the IT audience. That includes the VPs, the directors and managers of IT, data centers, and networking. And the security buyers include the CSOs, the CISOs, fraud and risk analysts, and managers. But we also have a whole bunch of influencers we should look into. The functional departments can include HR, application development, engineering, real estate, call centers, operations, and facilities. And for the lines of business who are a heavy influencer in the decision-making process for IT purchases, they include the leaders from digital business or e-business, retail offices, banking, branch office, core business, or omni-channel business. The outcomes for the business is, after enabling the digital transformation, is that they end up improving customer experience. And so in order to establish better customer loyalty, increase profitability, drive competitive advantage, improve worker productivity and morale, reducing the risk to business, improving a security and compliance posture, and improving IT and business operation efficiency. And this is my last slide. It's just a list of tools and resources on Sales IQ. We have some refreshed tools and assets on Sales IQ. There's an industry primer that gives a quick overview of the global state of business for financial services industry. There will be a new customer presentation. There's an updated solution reference card that basically talks about the use cases but summarized, and so you can use that as a cheat sheet. And then the Summit 2017 presentation and recording are available right now. There's a refreshed website, and there's the blog and Twitter handle that you can follow us on for up-to-date marketing and industry information. And that's the end of my presentation. I am going to turn presentation rights to Nitin.
Thanks, Yuting. Sorry, I was having trouble getting off mute. So thanks. My name is Nitin Sharma. I'm one of the Solutions Marketing Managers here at Citrix, part of the Healthcare Solutions Group. So I wanted to go through a similar format to what Yuting did to cover some of the key trends that are going on in healthcare. What are some of the customers are thinking about, the opportunity within the space, as well as some of the key areas that Citrix is addressing those challenges in healthcare, and how Citrix Ready partners can fill some of the gaps that that can kind of fully complete the picture and resolve some of the problems that healthcare is facing. So first, I wanted to touch on some of the key market drivers, really from a high-level perspective. So right now, the key thing is, and for the past 10 years, or actually a couple decades, reform is one of the biggest drivers. And it touches on a lot of the other things and trickles down to some of the other initiatives you're seeing on the slides. So some of the mandates are like meaningful use, the various stages that healthcare providers are trying to attest to get funding. The High Tech Act was also something that was passed a few years ago, or several years ago, to basically mandate healthcare providers or enabling technology to, in the sort of present day digital age, and making patient records a little bit more easily accessible, giving the power to patients to have the ability to address their own healthcare, but also making sure that there's also a very good healthcare providers are actually being more secure. That leads into, with all the recent reform and mandates, IT organizations or healthcare organizations had to shift their strategy. They want to be more agile, so this basically means that they need to basically be more efficient within their organization without increasing costs. A lot of healthcare providers work on slim budgets, so that they're trying to take the most the most tactical approach when it comes to basically growing your organization without increasing spend. That leads into efficiency. There's a lot of IT consolidation and simplification, but also efficiency from a patient care perspective. They want to, reduce readmission rates, unnecessary care, or redundant care, because in this present-day environment, or healthcare organizations can be fined for having a patient come in for the same issue multiple times. So a lot of that also bubbles into, with the digitization of healthcare, leads into security. There's a lot of compliance mandates and security and compliance audits that take place in the industry. There's a lot of HIPAA data breaches, and they need to also be PCI compliant because a lot of transactional data from credit cards gets involved in the healthcare space. From a workforce perspective, IT is used as an acquisition strategy for a lot of the top-tier talent. If you're a healthcare provider that's providing the latest tools that doctors need and require to provide better care with the latest cutting-edge technology, you're going to get you're going to be seen as a go-to hospital versus one that's still a few years behind on the technology curve. And also that leads into the bread and butter of the healthcare industry, is basically ensuring that the patients are getting the best care that they can, and health organizations are giving them the tools and technology to take care of their own, to seek care a little bit efficiently. So that's usually like telemedicine, being able to access your medical records on the fly, being aware of what are some of the things that you can do as a patient that can improve your own lifestyle, and the healthcare organizations are playing a part of that. So going into some of the key data points in healthcare, from a Citrix perspective, we're seeing tremendous growth globally in the healthcare IT landscape. Clinical applications are expected to grow 20%, as you see, through 2020. We see that reflected in Citrix success. So if any of the folks that are on the phone have seen any of the press releases from David, Henshaw, or Kirill, they'll, on the quarterly earnings call, they're always talking about the most, probably a dozen $1 million Citrix deals every quarter that are in healthcare. So that gives a lot of opportunities for our Citrix Ready partners to work alongside with to ensure that we're filling all the gaps in the technology strategies for these healthcare providers. There's still a lot of great white space and mid-market opportunity that we're seeing. This is an own Citrix analysis that we see a $1.5 billion opportunity worldwide of customers that aren't currently using Citrix or leveraging Citrix. So we can partner with Citrix Ready partners to see how we can better penetrate within these specific areas, as you see through Americas, the Asia, APAC area, as well as Europe and Middle East. So just from where Citrix is today in healthcare, worldwide we cover over 4 million caregivers. Over 4 million caregivers use Citrix every day. 100% of the top 10 largest U.S. healthcare organizations are dependent on Citrix. We cover over 88% of Epic Hyperspace installs worldwide, and over 250,000 concurrent users on Cerner are 250,000 users are accessing Cerner via Citrix. And healthcare providers choose Citrix because it's one of the more complete end-to-end solutions that offer the ability to access the core clinical applications, as well as enabling their mobility strategy, and also allowing them to create security layers to prevent and mitigate data breaches. This slide is just to give a good snapshot on some of the key names that are in healthcare that are using Citrix in the U.S. So I want to touch on some of the key use cases that are in healthcare that we're seeing, and we've just kind of categorized them. I've kind of categorized them on the app delivery or mobility slide, and then I'll transition over to some on how this plays out with some of the initiatives in healthcare. So in app delivery, the biggest thing that healthcare providers are concerned with is how do they ensure that their doctors are able to access their EMR and EHR. So EMR and EHR deployments are still very, very key in access in healthcare. So they want to be able to provide their clinicians and staff with access to medical records on various devices and make sure the transition is seamless. Typically, these types of software are very, very resource intensive, but when they can be deployed out from the data center, they can be accessed on pretty much any device, whether that's a low-cost thin client or a tablet that's like an app, an iPad, or an Android device. Secure affiliate access. This is access to third-party vendors or any kind of additional staff outside of the four walls of the hospital. M&A and IT consolidation is very key. As I was mentioning earlier, a lot of these healthcare organizations are trying to get a bigger population pool, so they're trying to expand out to new geographic areas, and they're doing this by merging with smaller community hospitals. So these large health systems are trying to become a one-stop shop and cover sort of a large swath. A good example of this would be Cleveland Clinic. It operates in multiple geographic areas throughout the United States, and they usually do that by, instead of building out new facilities, they just acquire a smaller community hospital that ends up becoming under the Cleveland Clinic umbrella. And outside of the clinical side of it, actually, let me touch on the other thing is the big opportunity for us, as well as key Citrix Ready partners that offer endpoint solutions or mobile workstations and endpoint devices and thin clients. Hospitals are still looking at going through thin client rollouts and replacing old, outdated fat clients or computer systems, whether that's on the hospital floor or on the staff side, the non-medical side of the hospital organization. And that's where I go into the non-EHR EMR apps. So an opportunity for health systems, an opportunity for any IT organization to sell into a healthcare provider to provide them a full end-to-end solution, wall-to-wall. Hospitals are run like a business. There is a marketing side, there's a finance side, and there's an accounting, there's an HR side. So a lot of those guys need, that staff also needs, seamless access to core, clinical apps. EHR as a service and EHR replacement, we're still a little bit of, not so much. Typically, this was something that we saw a lot of last year. Hospitals migrating from one EMR to a more predominant EMR, EHR, just based off needs or necessity or user experience. And then we go on the mobility side. So this is more, mobile means more than just mobile devices. We're talking about now allowing a clinician to become mobile, giving them the access to core clinical patient data outside of the four walls of the hospital, and make sure it's secure. So meeting data governance and compliance mandates. And then the actual clinician mobility. So these are mobile device initiatives, allowing doctors to roam around and do their rounds on tablets, have face-to-face engagements with a patient and their family at the patient's bedside, and showing them medical records on a tablet device that they can access an EMR, EHR app without having to relaunch the application. It just sort of picks up their session from a previously launched terminal. And mobile application, that leads into ensuring, how do you ensure the mobile device and the application itself. So you can kind of categorize a lot of what the use cases under main initiatives. You have security initiatives, you have clinician mobility, and then you have the IT flexibility. So before we get into that, so the reason Citrix healthcare providers are picking Citrix is basically we're helping them address those three initiatives. We're allowing them to improve clinician access, workflow and experience. We're enabling staff mobility on any device, and we're actually making IT more agile and flexible while enhancing security and compliance. So security and compliance, these are addressing regulations and risks and cyber threats like ransomware. Data breaches are still the #1 concern of CIOs globally. There's a data point from the Experian 2017 data breach industry forecast that says healthcare organizations will be the most targeted sector with new sophisticated attacks. So in this industry, data encryption is essential to meet multiple compliance and government mandates. It's about providing network security, access, and control. You see, the reason being is because the average cost of a medical record stolen is $363. The average cost of a breach at a healthcare organization is $4 million, and collectively across the industry, the annual cost of data breaches impact the healthcare organizations, costing them about $6.2 billion. Citrix's role in security and compliance, we allow control access by user, device, or network. We restrict actions like print, save, cut, paste. We allow auditing, like IT to audit end user sort of activity and record user activities via technologies within the suite, like session recording. This allows for like detailed activity logging for compliance audits. We also do multi-factor authentication with Netscaler from the app and desktop, basically creating granular policy controls. So from a Citrix Ready opportunity, we partner with a lot of vendors that allow an additional layer of security, but also enhance end-user experience. So a good example of this would be, like a authentication or SSO type badges where you remove the action of an end user or a doctor having to type in his credentials. You can allow them to launch right into his workstation with a tap in, tap out badge or proximity badge that houses his Active Directory credentials. So there's no risk if there's any sort of keyboard type loggers that are on the device or on the actual terminal or doctors. You reduce also the ability that end users have to call for password resets because it's all stored on it's actually just authenticated through a badge in or badge out. So going into the Clinician Mobility initiative, clinicians, they demand access to patient records on their mobile devices. Healthcare organizations compete with each other in some parts of the world for prestige and talent. So allowing doctors to be able to work remotely or being able to take advantage of all they can for their daily rounds, instead of having to do a lot of admin tasks and paperwork outside of their workday, that becomes a recruiting tool and something that healthcare organizations leverage. So, this basically is, follow me desktop roaming, being able to launch, look at a patient record from the office or a mobile card and smooth roaming over to an actual iPad or tablet device. And as I was mentioning earlier, being able to face-to-face engage with the patient family or patient, and being able to also update a patient record on the fly. So as you notice, if most people are familiar, back in the days before sort of the digital transformation in healthcare, most of the data was on paper, all in filing cabinets, and it basically created an in-person experience when you talk to your doctor. He only had whatever data that he has on the latest write-up. Whereas now with everything being easily accessible through electronic medical records, you could actually make changes to your patient record right as you're telling him what it is that you're having issues with, and kind of input that right in the patient record. It also allows for flexible data sharing with on-premise or HIPAA-compliant share file solutions. So this allows for users to share or doctors to share patient files with nurses securely, instead of having the data on the device. It all comes from an on-premise share file solution or share file in the cloud. Citrix Ready opportunities in this space would be technology that enable mobility initiatives. So you're talking about tablet devices, dictation devices, or software. or actually even also endpoint solutions like mobility solutions. From the IT efficiency and flexibility side of it, these are allowing IT to still be pretty efficient when it comes to, the rapid changing environment of healthcare. As I was saying, there's a lot of mergers going on in IT consolidation, as well as health systems that operate in multiple locations and multiple care facilities, and IT has to sort of manage that from a central location. Some of the tools that we're allowing and providing with IT of healthcare organizations is, like provisioning server, which allows for single image management across physical and virtual environments, faster and automated image update capabilities. You can streamline patching with rollback. You can reduce application sprawl with XenApp and AppDNA. You could, some of the benefits that this sort of segment gets is, you could reduce expensive storage and infrastructure costs with XenApp, lower endpoint device costs via inexpensive and secure HDX thin clients. You can get better OpEx with AppDNA for application remediation and patch management. And, you can create sort of a hybrid cloud model that allows for on-prem solution, an on-prem for your key critical applications, but you could offload a lot of the admin IT tasks off into the cloud. Citrix Ready opportunities in this space would be enabling technologies to allow admins to manage large-scale deployments without additional overhead. So some of the key things I could think of is like IT management type tools, proactive management, and basically anything that allows IT to manage without having organizations to manage IT sprawl without having to increase overhead or CapEx. With that, I'll hand it over to Kareem.
Great, thanks, Nitin. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for your time. My name is Kareem Cho-Bolyu, and I'm the Director of Education Solutions Marketing here at Citrix. So some of the challenges that we hear from many of our education customers is that they need to provide access to digital resources and deliver the experience their students expect today. With the huge movement with digital transformation, many schools and institutions are really struggling with this. They haven't been prepared, and it's been very challenging for them. The latest campus computing survey from 2016 indicates that 53% of campuses appear to be building their own apps, and this is going to continue to grow. And although mobile is a top IT priority, only 17% of higher ed CIOs and senior IT offices rate their mobile services as excellent. So looking at these statistics, this really provides a great opportunity for Citrix and their partners to go in there and help them with some solutions. So taking a look at the education revenue from 2015 and 2016, these are statistics for XenApps and desktop, Zen Mobile, and ShareFile only. So in 2015, we had about $51 million in revenue in the education market, and in 2016, we had $52 million. So it's slow and steady growth, but and we're continuing to grow. And as you look at the different geos, we had $65 million in the Americas, and then in APJC about $34 million, with ANZ, Japan, India, and PRC indicating that education is one of their top industry markets. And then in EMEA, about $28 million with Germany, France, and the Nordic regions indicating that education is a priority for them as well. Our leadership in education, we have more than 25 years of experience in education. We have 10 of the top 10 U.S. best global universities, and we have over 2,800 education customers. So I'm going to really kind of divide this conversation into the two different segments, primary and secondary schools, otherwise known as K-12 in the U.S. So some of the biggest challenges here in terms of the digital transformation is really providing their students access to digital resources. So I'm actually just going to go over the U.S. K-12 market and some of the opportunities there. In 2016, there was a survey that was done through the Center of Digital Education. Of the 50 states here in the U.S., about 41 states really have opportunities in about $15 billion worth of funding, and really focused on digital content solutions, networking, and devices. And the overall IT spend in 2016 was about $22.5 billion overall. And so what does this mean for technology, and how do we break this down? So for the U.S. IT spend, about $12 billion in the K-12 space, and about $11 billion in higher ed. So as we look at the K-12 space, let's kind of break this down to the different drivers. Funding is increasing. It's been slow, but it's been steady in the education market. Drivers are curriculum and standards, and as I mentioned earlier, the shift to digital. And really the IT opportunities here is really about student data. There's been inadequate student data and security protocols. Connectivity is a huge issue in this area, with wired and wireless networking. And then also pedagogy is really very important in this opportunities there, with providing competency-based learning, blended learning, hybrid learning, personalized learning, and then driving the curriculum. So as we look at some of the trends in 2017 in the K-12 and the primary and secondary space, Gartner's top 5 business trends really look at the shift to active learning, and that's really more around not having the students memorize content, but really having them be a part of the curriculum and really being interactive. And that includes, working with digital resources, apps, and data, and really about changing the definition of student success. It's not just, as I indicated earlier, memorizing as what students have been doing in the past, but really becoming more involved in critical thinking and really collaborating and taking some of these work-life skills that they'll be needing later on and bringing them in sooner into the student life cycle. Personalized learning, again, every student learns differently, and so there are many different digital tools and apps that would help with each student as they matriculate through the system and as they move forward from K-12 on to higher ed. And then analytics everywhere. Again, there's just so much data that all institutions and schools are collecting about their students, how they're learning, how they're achieving, and that the analytics can also provide opportunities to really help each student become a better student and help institutions find different programs and digital resources and tools to help improve that. And then lastly, privacy and trust. And again, this is really about protecting the student data and also the institutional data and research data. And if we look at the K-12, the Cio Priorities, again, this is very similar to what we saw in the Gartner business trends. It's about personalized learning, digital content and curriculum, online testing, mobility, enabling students to have one-on-one with their devices and being able to bring their own devices to school. Student privacy and data, technology for physical security, and then cybersecurity, data security, policy securities, and tools. Okay, let's take a look at higher ed. And as we all know, students in K-12 and in higher ed are just collecting devices. On the average, a college student brings anywhere between 4 to 6 devices with them to their campus, and they expect to have the same personal experience from their devices on campus. And so campuses are struggling with delivering, and their challenge is to deliver the experience their students expect. So when we take a look at the higher ed market, as I mentioned earlier, there's about $11 billion in spending that was estimated in 2016. And again, the drivers are very similar to K through 12 space. Funding is starting to return. It's slow. And then really the cost of education versus the student loan debt, and then shift to digital. Shift to digital is really transforming many universities. They know they need to modernize. They need to provide the digital experience their students expect, and so this is driving a lot of IT opportunities. Again, I said student expectations, networking upgrades to support all these devices. That is a huge priority and a huge challenge in this market, and then as well storage and data centers. With all these digital devices and data and apps, institutions need to figure out where to go and store all their data. And then learning analytics. This is still a maturing opportunity, but again, this is an opportunity to help drive some of the data and provide some of this data back to different institutions so that they can go and figure out they can go and innovate and provide new solutions for their students. Gartner's top 10 trends in higher ed in 2017. The ones that are highlighted in red are really the areas that I think we have opportunities in. Breaking boundaries. I know that sounds really strange, but that's really about helping institutions, being a partner, helping them look for different technologies to bring solutions, bring in different digital solutions, apps and resources to their students, and helping them become leaders. So I think we as partners, we can become partners and help our schools and institutions get to that point. Innovative learning spaces, huge trend opportunity for us in K through 12 and higher ed. These are just innovative learning spaces really enable students to collaborate, use new different technologies that are coming out on the market to experiment, to learn and work on projects with their peers and also with their instructors, and also provide a way for students, not just only on campus, but those students who are all off of campus to collaborate and work together. Personalization in education, as I spoke earlier, each student learns differently, and so there are different tools and resources and apps that will help students to learn, and even through some of our own technologies here, Citrix Technologies with a mobile app store, that really helps to drive some of that personalization for students. And student recruiting, you're probably wondering why student recruiting. Well, that's important in terms of a trend because each institution, schools are competing for enrollments for different students and increasing their enrollments. And by having a great digital experience, that will help to drive student recruitment. Okay, trends that we're looking at, I think I mentioned this earlier, mobility, BYOD, and hybrid learning. So bring your own device strategies are needed. Institutions and schools are trying to reduce this cost. Everybody does have most of their own devices, and they're encouraging students to bring their own device, making it easier and reducing cost of hardware. Again, earlier students are bringing more devices to college. Looking at some of the data from the campus computing survey, almost 53% of universities are building their own mobile apps, and they need a way to provide access to that for their students. And then blended learning and flipped classrooms still rely on virtual access. So really, this is some great trends that really kind of provide some great opportunities for us with our partners as well. So engaging with the CIO, what is on their minds today, their biggest challenges and things that keep them up at night is really about security, meeting mobility requirements, and building a mobile strategy for their campuses. Virtual deployments are also keeping them up at night, as well as making sure the network is up and running. Not only are students just really, it's about learning, and making learning continuous for students 24/7, because we all know they study any hours of the night and the day. And but also it's about running the business of schools and institutions. So your networks need to be up 24/7, and then really making sure that IT organization is agile to meet with the demands and the changes that happen, and then looking at cutting operational costs to become more efficient. Okay, let's take a look at some of the strategic opportunities in education. So our line, or our position really in education is really to help enable the digital campus and mobilize teaching and learning by securely delivering apps and data to any device, anywhere, and anytime. So that really, as we look at some of the use cases here, we want to help and transform the student experience, and we can do that through the mobile campus app store. And this is really about mobilizing teaching and learning to promote independent and interactive learning options. This is a way to empower BYOD to make apps and desktops secure and easier to manage. And this is, again, I said, to really transform the student experience with secure anytime access to content on and off and across campuses around the world. Really, as I indicated earlier, a lot of institutions are looking to, their biggest drive is to increase enrollments. And so that's just not only on-prem, but off-prem and remotely from around the world. When you're looking at selling to the higher ed institution, you're talking about transforming the experience. Here's a sample of, target audience and titles that you should be talking to. Provost, the VP of Academic Affairs, the CIO, CTO. I mentioned earlier, enrollment's huge, so you want to make sure you talk to the VP of Enrollment and Student Client Services, infrastructure, and then in the K-12 space, really your school district superintendent. They're the ones who make the final decisions in school districts, and then also talking to the networking managers in school districts. So as we look at transforming the student experience, this is really a great use case for our Zen apps and desktop and Zen mobile products. And again, the benefits for this is really focused on being able to enable access to, for students and staff anywhere, anytime, at any device. Really kind of helps to eliminate the need for students to wait in line at computer labs to access certain applications. Streamlines application delivery and updates, and it really helps to free up IT resources so that they can focus on other priorities. Some solution opportunities here is really about, apps and students to improve the student experience, access, remote access, IoT apps and solutions, ways to improve remote access, and then looking at, dictation devices and, and apps. So moving on to our next use case, we can talk about learning space redesign. And really, this really focuses in on helping universities to take unused spaces and turn them into learning spaces, virtual spaces where students can either hang out, do their work, and create, you can create flexible classrooms, especially with labs. As I indicated earlier, a lot of students need to access different types of highly graphical and intensive apps. And traditionally, they've been having to wait in line and sign up for lab time. Well, if you create a learning space, you can help to reduce that wait time and then enable virtual classrooms and labs for different learning approaches on and off campus. We've had several customers who have done that, and it's been very, very successful for them. You see this a lot in College of Engineering, in a College of Law, and even some of the sciences and teaching hospitals as well. And with learning spaces, it helps to increase student learning and collaboration, and it helps to remove the maintenance costs of equipment, because now you don't need to fill labs up with computers, And then really this actually provides also a new way to engage in a flexible physical and virtual workspace so that students, as they matriculate through the system, be workforce ready. And this really helps to provide them with real world life experience. Target audience for this is CIO, CTO, Director of Infrastructure and Apps, Director of Learning Technology, Head Librarian, Head of Facilities, and School District Superintendents. You're probably wondering why I'm saying Head Librarian. Reason why is many institutions are looking to find ways to utilize or revamp their libraries. Many libraries today are being used as collaboration spaces. They'll have little meeting rooms, and they've taken different areas of a library and have turned them into maker spaces where students can come in and they can experiment and try out different new technologies, from 3D printers to AR, IR, and VR types of technology, and work together on projects. And really, this does provide them with the real-life experience so that they're ready for the workforce. And this doesn't, so learning spaces is not only just in the higher ed space, but really we're seeing more administrators in schools bring this in the K through 12 space. They're finding out that the sooner that they bring technology earlier in the student life cycle, it really helps students to adapt to technology, learn about technology and how to use them, and then as they move on into higher ed, then it makes it a whole lot easier for them and helps them to be workforce ready. Okay, benefits. Here, these are great use cases for selling Zen apps, Zen desktop, and Zen mobile. Again, benefits is really about delivering apps and data to student devices, making every space a learning space without increasing square footage. It helps to administer tests and standardized testing with a lockdown desktop that prevents test takers from exiting a session for outside information. Works very well in the K through 12 space. Helps to increase the utility of physical and virtual learning, and lab spaces for instant access for improved collaboration. And then also, this is a great opportunity to differentiate and help create new revenue streams with online learning programs. So again, solution opportunities here is about online learning programs, testing, improving collaboration, personalization, 3D printers, new types of technology, learning technologies, AR, VR, AI, Internet of Things, space and safety tracking type of solutions, 3D apps for research, medical, and science. And our next use case is really talking about business and learning continuity. And really, business and learning continuity, running an institution, even in the K through 12 space, it's like running a mini city. Not only do you have to make sure that learning is continuous for all your students, wherever they are, whether they're on campus or they're remote campus, but you need to have your systems up and running all the time. And it's, like I said, not just only about learning, but it's also about running the business of your school and the institution. So you're looking at different types of solutions that will help to reduce operational costs or streamline processes, and managing complex multi-campus environments under IT control. So when we talk about the different target audiences, we have here, CIO, CTO, Provost, Director of Technology, Operations, your School District Superintendent, your Director of Networking Services, and then looking at any of your install base Citrix customers as well. Okay, some of the benefits here, use cases for our products focused around Citrix Mobile Workspace, Netscaler, ShareFile, GoToMeeting, Podio, and really, again, as I talked about earlier, the benefits of this is really keeping your students and faculty engaged and productive, especially when they can't get to the classroom, whether it's a snow day or there's some some event that's preventing them from getting to campus. It helps to promote independent exploratory learning so that students aren't tied to the classroom, but they're using technology to help them be outside the classroom and go beyond the walls. And it really helps to deliver apps and data to any location or device and troubleshoot network issues remotely. And again, different solution opportunities in this space is, data science apps and solutions, disaster recovery types of solutions, physical safety type of apps and solutions, and consolidation of different of service types. IT is always looking to provide their students with more services, but also a way to kind of reduce the work of providing the services. So if there's a way to consolidate the services, like for example printing services, that's an opportunity there as well. Okay, and we're looking at our last use case here, focused around data security, and this is really about securing student information, research data, and even institutional financial data. Today, higher ed gets hacked quite a bit. There's increased threats, breaches, cyber attacks, and ransomware are constant. So it's really important to provide secure access to institutional and student and research data, and also protecting that research data and IP that an institution creates. Target audience here, your CISO, your CIO, CTO, provost, director of apps and infrastructure, department heads, and at the K through 12 level, your school district and superintendents. Okay, so when we take a look at the use cases here, the products that really fall into this space is secure mobile workspace, Zen apps, Zen desktop, Netscaler, Cloud Bridge, Zen mobile, GoToMeeting, ShareFile, and Works apps. And really, again, the benefits here is to maintain compliance, protect student privacy, prevent data from being stolen, provide a secure cloud infrastructure, network access to shared research data and IP, and really optimize secure control, delivery of apps, data, resources, and cloud services across the institution. Some solution opportunities is really looking at additional identity and access type of solutions, ransomware apps and solutions, and other ways to improve compliance. And these are just a few of these. There's quite a few more that we're looking at, but just giving you a sample here. Okay, so just kind of wrapping things up. If you need some help and some resources, we have some tools and assets on Sales IQ. We have the Education Industry Primer that kind of gives you the layout of what's going on in education. This is updated on a yearly basis. We have our customer-facing presentation. The 2017 one will be available shortly. We have a selling and positioning in education. There's usually trainings that are done around that. For those of you that have attended Summit, the presentation is there, as well as a recording. For those who haven't, it's be a really great thing for you to listen into. We had a sales panel on that, and they really had an opportunity to talk about use cases. We also have a solution reference card. And then also join our conversation on Twitter. And then we have a refreshed education website. And then last but not least, we also created a bunch of marketing campaign assets last year that are available to all our partners at this website. We have 3 campaigns focused around student mobility, learning space redesign, learning continuity. We are working on developing one around security, our data security and student security. We have over 21 assets here. So you have templates for event and offer, emails, infographic, video, ad banners, and even blogs. And that's pretty much it. And I'll turn this back over to you, Sagneet. Thank you.
oh, sorry about the, I think the audio is not audible. So we ran over time, and I apologize our partners for this. So this is the Get Started page. We have 3 simple steps that the partner needs to follow. The step 1 is to sign up at our registration page, a link that I'll be sharing in a minute. The step 2 would be to qualify your submission, basically provide us admin, help us qualify your product as much as possible. We'll of course work on one-on-one basis after you sign up. But basically, any detail that you could provide that helps us align you to one or many industry verticals, we'll go ahead and do that. And last step is to run the joint promotions with us, which is basically we are giving away 4 benefits. Basically, the white paper. We are offering joint white paper that showcases Citrix integration in an exclusive landing page. Apart from that, we have lead gen webinar, a podcast, and also sales reference card that we are introducing new as part of this initiative. We will talk in more detail on one-on-one conversations. I will very quickly go to the sign up page for you guys to sign up immediately. So the deadline for sign up is at April 7th, 2017. That's about 20 days from now. bit.ly/CR verticals, capital CR and small verticals, and I'll share this slide deck with you guys as soon as possible. And for further questions and answers, I'm sorry that we couldn't attend it today. In this webinar, you can drop it at Citrix Ready at citrix.com or email directly to me at sagni.citrix.com. So I want to take time to thank our speakers, using Nitin and Corinne, for taking the time and sharing the industry experience. Thanks for that fantastic presentation. And lastly, I'd like to thank each one of you for saying that, attending our webinar today, and I look forward to receive your sign-up requests and collaborate you further. Thank you so much.